The background for why we chose this topic actually started months before we ever thought about doing this particular topic. It's sort of a funny story. Dr. Deneen has had a long-standing liking of lime Coke and was often teased about that. When we were trying to decide what topic to do next, we wanted to do something different. As we were talking, a number of different topics were mentioned, and I kept saying, we need something outside the box. I finally said, maybe something as far out as lime Coke. It was sort of said in irritation, and Dr. Deneen was somewhat derisive, essentially saying, what the heck can we say about that? The reason for that was that he had been challenged by different peers and people saying, this is really not very important, and etc. So we were told that lime Coke had no effect on anything really, and that we couldn't do an episode on that. So, as is my wont, I said, they say we can't do it. Let's do it. And we looked at multiple references, and we began to think about what we knew and what we might be able to research to uncover. And the idea began to take on a life of its own as more information was uncovered. There are basically three brands of soda pop: Pepsi, Coke, and RC. And in this episode, we'll touch on all three of them.
This is an example of uncovering the impact of events and things that are typically dismissed as trivial. The value goes far beyond the actual product. Remember the mighty oak tree that grows from a tiny seed. There's a common sense of enjoyment which transcends ordinary boundaries, where the simplest things can be shown to have a significant impact. It's somewhat like the butterfly effect.
It really is a sort of a butterfly effect that we're looking at here. Soda or pop or whatever is a significant and iconic American export. You can find particularly Pepsi and Coke all over the world.
Absolutely. Coke and Pepsi have a significant presence in Russia that we'll get to later.
Well, that's really interesting.
Yes, indeed. RC is the official drink of the Olympic Israeli soccer team, as well as being the official drink of the New York Mets during their glory years in the 1980s.
Okay.
There's really a worldwide impact and a worldwide acceptance of this stuff. There is a soft drink machine at the Wailing Wall. There is a Coca-Cola Freestyle machine at the Black Stone in Mecca. It's really transcends, as I said, all boundaries and limitations. I have a funny story about Russian love for Coke.
Let's hear it.
During World War II, my friends, then the Soviet Union was an ally of the West, of the UK and the United States. And their commander, Georgy Zhukov, was introduced to Coca-Cola by General and future President Dwight Eisenhower. He loved it. But his boss, Soviet secret police chief Lavrentiy Beria, hated the idea of a good communist leader enjoying such a bourgeois capitalist product. So Eisenhower asked James Farley, the former Postmaster General of the United States and a Coca-Cola president at that time, if they could design a special form of it. And it was known as White Coke. The coloration was taken out. The logo was taken off the cans and replaced with red stars and pictures of Marx and Lenin. And all throughout the Cold War, the good Marshal Zhukov had all the Coke he wanted.
Oh, wow. That is really, really interesting. There was some research that really is applicable here. the formal name is the capitalist peace theory. The capitalist peace theory. In colloquial terms, it's called the McDonald's effect. And what that says basically is that companies which have a trade with one another don't go to war. As a matter of fact, statistically, if two countries share American fast food establishments, they have never actually gone into armed conflict with one another.
That's amazing. Peace through junk food.
Well, yeah, and we've seen particularly the heavier people, world leaders, have meetings at McDonald's.
I know something about that. Ex-President Trump and North Korean Chairman Kim Jong-un met at a McDonald's in Vietnam.
Yeah. And, that goes right along with the theory. And it's quite fascinating. One of the things that has happened is that all three of these major soda pop people have a claim to being the first. Both Coke and Pepsi, particularly, have some reasons to claim being the first. Do you know anything about that?
I do. Coca-Cola was created in Atlanta by a Civil War veteran and morphine addict named John Pemberton.
Morphine addict?
Yes, he was trying to cure his addiction. He had tried to get the copyright on a drink called wine cola, could not get it. And so he created his own product with a certain amount of cocaine. And
wow.
during the progressive era in the early 1900s, the cocaine was taken out and replaced with more sugar and caffeine.
And used coca leaves too. I understand.
Absolutely.
But I always thought that was myth until I was actually helping my grandmother clean out her attic many years ago, and found a carton of it was actually a flat. They had those wooden boxes that they had the bottles in back then, but one of those with Coke bottles in it, and I picked one up and looked at it, and I could see the distillates from in the bottom of the Coke bottle, and I thought to myself, this is maybe the myth is true. And as a matter of fact, it is true, as you say. It's interesting to know that he was trying to use cocaine to get off of morphine. Okie dokie.
Indeed. Pepsi got its name from a digestive aid called Pepsi. It was created in North Carolina by a pharmacist named Caleb Braden, and it was originally known as Brad's drink. And that was actually a year earlier in 1898. And RC was created in 1905 by a beverage company that was annoyed at the high price of Coca-Cola syrup, so decided we'll create our own product. What has always intrigued me is the names used for these type of drinks in different parts of the country. It's very regionalized. In New Jersey, we say soda. People in the Midwest say pop. New Englanders call everything tonic. People in Tennessee use the term bottle drink. My South African friends call anything with carbonation a fizzy drink. And
yeah, I know that's true. I know in the South, there was a connection between RC and Moonpies. And Moonpies, in case you don't know, are kind of a concoction where there's marshmallows between slabs of graham cracker and covered with chocolate. And one of the favorite things that we said, and I said as a kid, I think I'll have an arroz y Coca-Cola and moon pie.
Sounds pretty tasty.
Actually, it really is. Uh, yeah.
What had surprised me in the research I was doing was the diversification that both Pepsi and Coke did in owning other companies and other products. Coke owned Columbia Pictures for a while. Pepsi owned a number of restaurants, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Pepsi even had a Navy at one time. That's an interesting story.
A Navy.
Yes, sir. As a result of their connection with President Nixon during his years as a congressman and vice president, they began to sell their products, but in Eastern Europe, what was then called the Iron Curtain and the USSR. And because a communist country doesn't have corporations, they had to make an official trade with the Russian Navy.
Is this where the Stolichnia vodka comes in?
Yes, indeed. They agreed to sell Stolnitsia vodka and another drink called Balaika, which literally means tree. It's an apple-flavored carbonated drink. So Pepsi owned about 9 Russian Soviet battleships. And when the Cold War ended, they sold most of them off, except they kept the top one as a yacht for a lot of the brass.
So the Iron Curtain countries paid for the Pepsi products by paying off in battleships?
Yes, indeed.
Wow. Okay.
Now, today, the Russian Orthodox Church owns a lot of the rights to sell various soft drinks. Patriarch Kirill himself is the biggest Pepsi distributor in Russia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan.
Yeah. Well, and the number one fast food and actually restaurateur in Russia is owned by Pepsi.
Wow.
Still to this day. It is a big deal.
It certainly is. Now, Royal Crown was the most innovative in terms of its specific cola products. They were the first to put their product in cans, to create a diet, caffeine-free drink, use nationwide taste testing. But there's also been some controversies.
Well, yeah, I heard that Coke had some sort of a connection with Hitler, and Pepsi had some problems with Untouchables in India.
Yes, these are two very touching but very true stories. I'll give the Coke one first. Coca-Cola was actually banned by the Nazis in 1939, just after the Second World War broke out, as an un-Aryan product. So the suppliers, many of whom were involved in the resistance, had to go underground. And the head of Coca-Cola for Germany, a man called Max Kite, it's spelled like the last name Keith, but pronounced like a kite in the sky, created a new product with beets, fructose sugar, and other things that we now know as Fanta. So that's where Fanta came from. And it spread first throughout Europe after the war and then to the United States and Canada later. Now, Pepsi had a different problem. When India got its independence, they decided to do a lot of recruitment among poor people who had not had much in the way of opportunities for employment, particularly what are called the Hazajan, which is the lowest Indian caste. They used to be called untouchables. And people were terrified of drinking the product because they felt it wouldn't have been handled hygienically. So Alfred Steele, the president of Pepsi at that time, who was married to the famous American actress Joan Crawford, actually was photographed drinking from those bottles and interacting with his employees. It did a lot to break down prejudice.
I can imagine that it would. breaking norms, etc. Um, yeah, the start of this whole thing was about lime Coke. And, every time that you have mentioned it, I always think of you put the lime in the coconut, you drink them both up. And, it's funny. And we haven't really talked a great deal about that, but maybe you'd like to sing the praises of lime Coke. I'll
Well,
give you that chance.
I would, my friends. It's something that I find particularly pleasurable, and it's acquired a worldwide following. There is a very famous device called a freestyle machine that Coca-Cola has that lists over 100 flavors. And of all the flavors on that list, lime is considered the most popular. President Putin regularly drinks it with vodka. The head imam of the Saudi Arabian royal family declared it Allah's greatest blessing to the masses. And when the Israelis and Palestinians signed their last peace agreement, they each had some lime Coke together as a symbol of their new friendship. Something as small and ordinary as a little sweetened drink can really alter history. I didn't think that was possible, but as we've done our research, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, Bill, we found what the Anal school used to say, the importance of something that's seen as trivial, the excitement and interest of a very ordinary thing.
It truly is a kind of butterfly effect. From the small seed, the mighty oak grows. From a product that is exported, people get to see another culture as having something worthwhile for them. It is really interesting, and it is worthwhile to remember that history is not just made by the famous. Often, many of the most impactful things are made by unknown people or little known people. And we should always remember that indeed, every day we are making history. Each one of us are. And, that has been really one of the driving forces of doing this podcast, is to make history have more than one dimension.
To take it out of the box that is just limited to military and political events and look at ordinary life.
Mm-hmm.
And my friends, I just happen to like it. Bill will tell you he's offered to make me pina coladas and other more sophisticated drinks, but this is what I happen to like. I'm a man of simple tastes.
Well, there you go. Well, I guess since, well, I'll scratch that. I'll have to redo that. I hope you all had as much fun listening to this as we had making it. The topic was solidified because no one thought we could find anything interesting or impactful about lime Coke.
And we sure did.
We actually did. Okay, well, since I can't get a real drink around here, I guess it's about time to stop. Again, we want to thank you for listening and hope you enjoyed and maybe learned a few things. We absolutely welcome your comments and suggestions. We'd like to invite you to subscribe and join us. We have a bunch of topics to share. Have a great day. Remember, you're making history every second of your life. Bye.
Have a good day, folks. Bye-bye.
Let's see if I can figure out how to shut this off. Still recording.